Hi, y'all, and welcome to the recap of day 6 of the Donna Adelson trial. The prosecution has rested, and on Tuesday, we will start the next phase of the trial when Donna Adelson presents the witnesses she had. So, today, the huge news is that we got brand new text messages between some of the people we have never seen before, and they change dramatically everything. We have text messages between Donna and Wendi we had not seen before that happened around the time of Charlie's trial. And we also have messages from Donna to numerous people saying that what Charlie said in his trial was true, that the extortion theory was true. That makes it very difficult for her to do what we had seen up until now, which is run from Charlie's theory about the extortion to suggest, hey, I'm over here with Team Dan Markel and everybody else is over here. You've got Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, the hitmen. You've got the Katie Medbanowa who hired them, and even Charlie, her own son. But she was not involved with that at all. It makes it much more difficult. It at least says that Donna is going to have to stick with the theory that she believed Charlie had been extorted. I don't see how any way around that happens. I think she's going to have to say that. It has really shaken up the trial. So we started with FBI Special Agent Sanford still on the stand. This poor man has been on the stand for days. He is finally off the stand as of today. He showed us a new piece of evidence, a planner from 2014 that Donna Adelson had, that she had prepared. In it, she had, and this was huge, the type of vehicle and tag number for Dan Markel. He drove an '08 Accord and it had his license tag number. This particular vehicle and tag number would allow the hitmen to follow him, right? If they knew what they were looking for and knew what he would be driving, they could follow that vehicle. And so the prosecution is saying, why would Donna Adelson have Dan Markel's vehicle and tag number in her planner? Why would anyone do that? So just for interest's sake, we took a vote right here on the channel during lunch. We took a poll and I asked everybody, would you have the license tag number of your adult child spouse, your child-in-law, I guess you would call it? Would you have that? Would that be something you would have? And 94 to 95% of you said, no, I would not have that information. And I said, I wouldn't even have my own. I don't even have my own license number. I mean, I could find a piece of paper with it, but I wouldn't remember it. Question has always been, how did the hitmen know where to go, how to find this guy? And here was a piece of information in Donna's planner. Very important new evidence. They also talked about and played the jail call we covered here on the channel. It was a jail call the day following Charlie's conviction. And Donna and Charlie talked repeatedly throughout that day. About midway through that call, maybe even not that far, it cuts off. And that's been happening to the jail calls all day. So Donna says, well, he's gone. But the jail call and the jail recording is still going. She hasn't hung up yet. Charlie is indeed off the phone, but she begins talking to people in the room with her, two friends, one of whom is an attorney, and she begins talking to them and to Harvey and talking specifically about what her plans are, about how she plans to go to Vietnam, how she is looking for a non-extradition country. This was enormously important, not just for purposes of arresting Donna, because that was how they found out she might be trying to leave, but also for purposes of this trial, because the state is saying that the reason Donna wanted to flee is that it shows she had consciousness of guilt. She knew she was guilty and she was trying to get out of Dodge before they could actually prosecute her and she would be sent to jail. We heard from this recorded call in which she said she was looking for a non-extradition country, and she mentioned Vietnam. We heard from the witness talk about how she was arrested in the jetway on the way into the airplane. So she's used her ticket. She is actually in the jetway when she is arrested by law enforcement. And She, at that point, physically resisted, he testified, giving us the phone. Now, if you have seen that recording, you know that in addition to saying no, she said, my attorney said not to turn it over. That part didn't get told to the jury. There was a sidebar. My best guess was that the sidebar involved the prosecution saying, well, we could play that whole tape if you want of her being arrested. And the defense at that point withdrew the objection. So that was never shown to the jury. It was a difficult cross-examination, and it didn't seem like it got where the defense wanted it to get. What we have seen for days now is recorded conversations where we could see the people, where we could hear the people talking. We've actually heard in their own voices all of the people who are involved in this, according to the state, talking about it. We've heard what happened, and we've seen this laid out in very great detail. We heard in cross-examination about the fact that there has to be probable cause for a wiretap, and that the only people who were actually subject to the wiretap were Katie Medbanwa and Charlie Adelson, not Donna, not Harvey, not Wendi. But there was some discussion about maybe there was a bit more done with Sigfredo. Luis Rivera was apparently already subject to a wiretap for another matter before. There were also questions about Wendi's interview back when Dan Markel was first shot and she was brought to the police station and interviewed about what had happened. We know, because it's been important in this case, that she immediately threw out to them that nobody disliked Dan Markel more than her parents. She told them about Charlie's joke about it was cheaper to buy her a new TV than to hire a hitman. And that just dumped right out immediately. She just immediately began talking about this. She offered numerous choices of people. It could be an angry student, it's someone upset with him, could be her brother, could be her parents. And she named all these people who might have something against him. But at no point did she name Jeffrey Lacasse. Jeffrey Lacasse was Wendi's boyfriend right around the time of Dan Markel's murder. I think the point of that was that Jeffrey Lacasse had suggested that maybe Wendi Adelson was trying to set him up, and that could explain why there were 2 trips up to Tallahassee that coincidentally were timed to when Jeffrey Lacasse would be leaving town. Now, Wendi was divorced from Dan Markel, but it wasn't all over because they were still battling over custody. The prosecution theory is that Donna wanted the kids moved down south. We also did hear that the state has been looking at bank records of the Adelsons since early on. And of course, their focus would have been whether money went out that could have paid hitmen. And apparently, they didn't find enough, at least back at that time, to arrest them. In the bump, Donna Adelson was walking on her way to pick her grandkids up from school when a man approached her, handed her a newspaper article about Dan Markel's murder, and on that article, a phone number and the number $5,000 were written. And this was the bump. The point of this demand that Donna Adelson fork over $5,000 was to get all of the people talking to one another. Law enforcement was trying to get evidence against people they thought were involved, but they did not yet have enough evidence. They wanted more. We heard more about that Dolce Vita restaurant meeting between Katie Medbanwa and Charlie Adelson back in 2016, following the bump. Charlie says, "Trust me, I'll keep you full-time, so you're going to get your checks." Wasn't entirely clear why the defense presented that, maybe to say that Katie really was working for Adelson Institute. Now, she didn't agree with that. And as I recall, Charlie didn't even agree with that at his own trial. But Donna may be wanting to argue that she thought that it was a real employment. She has some other problems with that, like the fact that the checks were not sequential. Some were post-dated, some were backdated. But she may argue that in her mind, she was just helping out her son. She just wrote checks. They told her who to write them to. A theme for the defense throughout the cross-examination seemed to be that law enforcement waited years to arrest Donna Adelson. And for that matter, waited years to arrest Charlie too, but even more years to arrest Donna Adelson. During the course of that time, Donna had left the U.S. several times, and she had always come back. So what made this trip so suspicious? Nothing is what the defense would argue. They pointed out that there were parts of the recorded conversation that law enforcement did not hear. When the conversation that they were tapping veered into something that was no longer related to what they were looking for, they were supposed to stop listening. So there are parts where they just don't know what was said. And he agreed with that. In the conversations between Charlie and Donna, she says, I don't want to talk to you on the phone. Come down and talk to me in person. But they pointed out that law enforcement doesn't really know why she says that. I don't think these are super strong arguments. I think most people will figure the only reason she would do that is if her phone is being tapped. And it's more likely that her phone is being tapped by law enforcement than that it's being tapped by gang members who are extorting Charlie. And it's even more true because in the end, Charlie and Donna both decide, yes, it was law enforcement. The defense talked about how much Katie's story changed. I think very much the defense wanted to get in the fact that we talked about at our lunch yesterday, I believe it was. Katie's story during Charlie's trial was that the money she received for the hit was wet, molded a couple of days after she received it, when she pulled it out of the bag. And she wondered about that. Her thought was that maybe somebody washed it, maybe Charlie's mother, but she did not really know. Conversely, in this trial, she said Charlie told her that Donna actually laundered the money. Donna actually washed the money. And that Donna had been at Charlie's house that day. That's different from what she had said before. And they tried to get that from this witness, but it didn't come out. They just said, do you know what Katie said at Charlie's trial to compare to this trial? And he said he didn't. She said she would get it from another witness, but I don't know. We'll see. On Friday, the FBI agent learned about the call between Donna and Charlie where they were discussing her possible trip to Vietnam. A government agency was looking for whether she bought this ticket. We were just told it was a government agency that shows people traveling overseas. There was a contact from the agency. She had booked a flight that Monday morning. She would be leaving that evening for her trip to Vietnam. There was argument from Donna's team that even though she did plan to go to Vietnam, she also planned to return for the bar mitzvah of one of Wendi's children. He did say he had heard that. By now, it's 2023. The murder of Dan Markel was in 2014. So it's been 9 years. There's been no warrant issued for Donna's arrest. And even at the moment she was making her plans to go out of town, still, there was no warrant for her arrest. She was free to travel out of the country if she needed to or wanted to. And furthermore, she spoke to her attorney, and he said it was okay to travel out of the country. An attorney working for her called the state attorney's office, and the state's attorney said Donna was free to travel out of the country. So for all these reasons, Donna thinks she's doing nothing wrong. That's a defense argument. But he did not have information necessarily about this. Were you aware Donna Adelson's attorney called? He's not going to know that. During the day, Monday, she has bought her ticket. He begins driving down to Miami, where Donna lives. He lives in northern Florida, I presume. He drives all day down to where Donna lives in Miami. And he does not yet know whether or not they will charge Donna. There's not yet been a decision made. Sometime over the course of the afternoon, they make that decision. They go and get the arrest warrant, and then he executes it that night at the airport. She has obtained a 90-day visa to Vietnam, and the purpose of it is tourism. It's good for single or multiple entries. He did observe Donna and Harvey sitting there in the chair at the gate for about 20 minutes before boarding. They had regular carry-on bags. They weren't trying to carry their entire household goods or anything like that. He wanted to get them separated, so he said he waited until they got into the actual jetway going toward the airplane. Donna's team seemed to suggest that it was done more for sensationalism, that there was no benefit or reason for that. They didn't really explain why they wanted to know exactly where it was, but we have all seen the video of that and kind of how it went down. The defense wound up with this series and all of the work you did putting together all of this information. There is no direct communication that you found between Donna Adelson and hitman Sigfredo Garcia. That's correct. There's no direct communication between Donna Adelson and Luis Rivera, the other hitman. Correct. And Katie met Donna a grand total of one time when she came and saw Donna at the front desk when Katie had a dental appointment. And that's it. And the witness agreed with that. Furthermore, Donna never said in all of the information they saw from Donna that she wanted Danny killed, that she was planning to kill Dan Markel, or that she was hiring someone to kill Dan Markel. And he said yes. But the prosecution popped right back up and said, but there was plenty of circumstantial evidence, right? And he said yes. And there was enough for this jury to decide, which I thought should have been objected to, but wasn't. So therefore, he answered yes. At this point, the door had been opened, I suppose, to Charlie's defense. They now went through all of what Charlie's defense was in great detail, and it gave them the opportunity to basically lay out all of the arguments they made in closing argument for Charlie's trial. The very best arguments they had. Charlie's defense was that he brought his mother in when, after he was extorted, they were both being extorted, and therefore there were checks written to Katie Medbanova. Now, I only remember Charlie saying that he did bring his mother in, but that only he was being extorted. But one way he was having to pay was with the checks to Katie Medbanova. And he thought that Katie was cashing these checks and giving them to someone else. He believed it was a pass-through, that he was actually paying this money as an extortion to gang members who were requiring him to pay this because they had killed Dan Markel. And the reason he was friendly with Katie was because he did not realize that she was in on the game. She was in on this extortion against him. And his theory was that the killers drove from South Florida to Tallahassee, hoping to get money out of Charlie Adelson and maybe Donna later. And that since Charlie didn't have enough money in his safe to immediately pay them a full $350,000, that the killers put him on a layaway plan and allowed him to pay over time with these $3,000 monthly checks to Katie. At this point, we were about to break for lunch. I may have said we had lunch earlier. We did not. We're breaking for lunch. The judge had Donna Adelson stand up and swore her. Miss Bernhardt is about to testify. I'll tell you who she is in a minute. And you have discussed the cross-examination strategy with your counsel and how it's going to fit into your defense, and you have consented to that. She was under oath, and she said yes, she understood about the strategy, and she had consented to it. Now, Bernhardt is one of the two inmates that Donna Adelson was housed with who are testifying against her in this trial. All right, so let's head to the afternoon where we got a ton of brand new bombshell information. Right after lunch, Detective Jonathan Grossman took the stand and talked about a search warrant that was executed at Donna's house. They didn't find anything I thought was wildly interesting. Luggage, camera equipment, visas. Her planner was open, and they did obviously get the planners, and that was important. There was also one particularly important piece of information, a note to Wendi saying there is a gun to be sold. Here's a phone number. Here's instructions. You're going to need this piece of paper when you sell it. And the point of that is it looked like they were leaving. They were leaving final instructions to Wendi. Cross-examination suggested a couple of things that they might have missed. They did not go through the safe. The defense wanted to point out that if the safe had either no cash or, even better, cash that was not stapled into stacks of $100 bills, 10 per, then it would suggest that Donna was not the source of the money that was stapled and that ultimately made its way through to the hitmen. Charlie, we do know, stapled his money, stacks of hundreds and stacks of $100 bills for $1,000 per. So then Patricia Byrd took the stand. She is in Leon County custody. She was in her jail uniform for violating probation. She can be sentenced to up to 15 years if she's convicted, and she has a pending case which could result in 5 years for her. In other words, she wants something for her testimony, but the prosecution pointed out she hasn't been promised anything. She slept right next to Donna and talked to Donna for months. She said she asked Donna, what are you in for and did you do it? And Donna said she did it to keep her grandkids, but it wasn't supposed to go that far. That was really bombshell information because it would suggest that Donna has confessed to the murder of Dan Markel. Now, there was discussion around this when we got to cross about whether or not she really meant that Donna confessed to this or that Donna just confessed to writing checks to Katie. But it was cleared up on redirect. What the witness was saying was that Donna actually confessed to murdering Dan Markel, but she didn't think it would go that far. It's not at all clear how it would really work, roughing up a guy to try to get him to withdraw his right to custody or his right to live in Tallahassee. It just wasn't clear. According to this witness, Patricia Byrd, she was also housed with Katie at one point. So Donna Adelson wanted Patricia to say, Katie confessed, we killed him because my boyfriend's parents had money. Katie's boyfriend, Charlie, that would mean Donna and Harvey had money and they were trying to get it. So Donna wanted Patricia to tell everybody about this story that Katie had supposedly said. And what would Patricia get? She would get a trailer and land, and Donna's husband would fix Patricia's teeth, give her veneers, if she would testify falsely. She said this was false. Meanwhile, Donna also bought canteen and other gifts for Patricia. On cross, they talked about the fact that there has been a fair amount of confusion in Patricia's testimony. 2 weeks ago, she said she spoke to a white investigator, and now she's saying a black investigator. And Patricia said, I was confused. There were apparently different stories about how many times Patricia had met with defense investigators. Earlier, she had said that 1 month after she moved into the pod, Donna had already offered her money, land, and a trailer. In other words, I assumed they were trying to say it wasn't related to any testimony. She was just offering to do this for her. Also, she did admit that Katie was manipulative. The next witness, Drina Bernhardt, this is the one Donna was asked the questions about early on. She had been given probation, but for violating it could get up to 15 years. And there was also a felony pending for her of up to 5 years. She had a total of 27 prior convictions, including crimes of dishonesty. She had been friendly with Donna for about 4 months while they were housed together, so friendly that Donna referred to her as her jail daughter and as her sunshine. Donna even did art for her and wrote a nice little note to Drina, and Drina said she wrote back as well. Drina said that Donna talked a lot about her grandchildren. They were very close. She sometimes would even accidentally refer to them as her children. Drina reported to law enforcement what Donna was asking for. And I'll get into that in just a minute. She said she initially reported for selfish reasons, but over time believed that it was morally correct and really wanted justice for the Markels. A little bit questionable on that, given the circumstances, but what she's hoping for is a reduced sentence. Donna asked Drina to say things about Katie. Drina also was housed with Katie at some point. Drina was supposed to say pretty much about the same thing, except for Drina, Donna actually prepared a written out script, actual Q&A. Drina's asked this, Drina responds that. And a witness for the state testified that the handwriting was Donna's. This was Donna's actual handwriting. The defense was a little put out by that, saying, we never contested that, which the judge struck from the record, but everybody still heard that. Drina was supposed to, in the grand plan, copy this Q&A over into her own handwriting and then maybe give it to law enforcement. Drina was supposed to say that Katie said her friends went up to Tallahassee and killed this guy, Dan Markel, and asked Charlie to give them $350,000. He went crazy and said it was not to kill Dan. The point of the $350,000 was that the Adelsons were going to give a grand total of $1 million to Dan Markel to ask him and give him a reason to come down to South Florida instead of Tallahassee. They figured if they gave him $1 million, he could use that money to fly back and forth for his teaching job at FSU in Tallahassee. So the money would be useful to him. This script would say that Katie laughed about having fooled her baby daddy and Charlie and said, what a stupid fool, ha ha, what a joke. And the prosecution said, now, is that the way Katie would talk? And Drina said, no, that didn't sound like Katie at all. So in return for her doing this, Donna was offering the following. First of all, packages. Donna regularly had Harvey order gift packages for her, which are just food and things like that. She said it was mostly like gas station food, but it's really at siding in jail. And that would get ordered and delivered to her. She would get to use Donna's phone, which was great because calls are really expensive in jail. She would get $10,000, a grand piano, cameras, and prescriptions. She was a recovering drug addict, she said. And Harvey would send her money through Zelle, and she would contact Harvey using Signal, which I think is some kind of encrypted app. On cross-examination, they talked about the fact that, honestly, it's kind of a convoluted tale, but Drina was released in February of 2025. As a result of her cooperation, she said she didn't really know why she got released, but she violated her probation and got a new felony burglary charge and was facing 15 years mandatory for the probation violation and potentially additional time for the felony burglary as well. She is obviously hoping for some kind of benefit that she will get probation again or less probation or treatment or something like that, even though she already got one bite at that apple. So I don't know if she'll get more or not. There has been dispute about exactly the way Drina approached Donna. Because Donna is represented by counsel, law enforcement and the prosecution, they're supposed to approach her through her counsel. They aren't allowed to use other people to go pressure her and get information and bypass the counsel. So there has been a question about whether Drina was pushing Donna for information. That issue was raised by another inmate who volunteered, went to law enforcement saying this happened. She is listed for the defense as a potential witness. This witness said that Drina was really pushing for this information, which would maybe cast some doubt on it and cast doubt on whether it would be admitted. She meets Donna, which the defense called her your get out of jail free card. During her interview with the state's attorney's office, Drina actually asked, did I do a good job? After she told them about Donna Adelson and about all of this that she supposedly had been asked to do. She also made a point of letting them know that she had intentionally sat in view of a camera while talking to Donna so that they could prove she really had talked to Donna. She wasn't just making that up. The defense said, you don't recall telling Donna exactly what to write in that Q&A? And she said, no, I don't recall that. I don't know of any way the defense can get in that fact unless Donna comes to testify. We will see whether that happens. The next witness talked about the handwriting. I mentioned that a minute ago. And then we were back to Sergeant Corbett, who had testified earlier in the trial and dropped in these brand new text messages we knew nothing about before. It's Charlie's trial. And Charlie is testifying on November 2nd. After his testimony, Wendi sends prayer hands to Donna. And Donna says, We shouldn't have to pray. He's telling the truth. Protected his little sister for years. And then she proceeds to send these text messages out to 12 people. It's the truth. Finally, the truth is out. And Dan just proved extortion. These are huge because they lock Donna in to Charlie's story. I don't see how they go back to their story about Donna is just different, throw Charlie under the bus with these text messages, which I assume they knew the state had. These are recent text messages. They had Donna's phone. All of this should have been produced to them. So I assume they knew that, but it is going to change everything. And that may be one of the reasons they were unclear how long it would take for the presentation of their case, because they're trying to decide, are we going to put Donna on the stand or are we not going to put Donna on the stand? This changes things dramatically. Also, Donna wrote to Wendi saying, your lawyer didn't want you to know what happened, and it might have helped your relationship with Charlie. So she is suggesting Wendi never knew about the extortion against Charlie on the night of Dan Markel's murder. That's Charlie's story, that Donna knew about it, but that Wendi never knew about it. Now, they have to be aware that law enforcement may one day look at these. So I think we listen to these, we consider them, but everyone has to be considered with the realization that they may be writing these things with an eye to other people seeing them. But Donna tells Wendi, your lawyer didn't want you to know what happened. And that's a shame because it might have helped your relationship with Charlie if you had only known what he was doing to help you out. So then they talked about the phone evidence. Charlie reaches out to Katie with no mention of extortion, no anger or fear being expressed. And Charlie and Katie stayed in contact and kept on a close friendship for years. At one point, they showed a message from Charlie, I love you. I'm very lucky to have you as part of my life. And another from Katie, I will always care about you. The direct examination is saying, if this were true, then why is Charlie so friendly with the woman who has brought in this extortion message? We do know from Charlie's trial, he hasn't testified here, but in his trial, he said he was doing that on the theory that he needed to stay in good with Katie. The last thing he wanted to do was get Katie upset because she could be the key to making things smooth with these gang members who were extorting him. But the jury doesn't know that excuse. All they know is what they've heard so far. All right, this is Donna and Charlie talking. Charlie talked about how his attorney ran into Katie and said she was nice and beautiful, not that she was a liar and an extorter, but that she was nice and beautiful. And Donna said, like all your girlfriends, neither one of them seeming to suggest that they hated Katie, that she had extorted them, anything like that. Charlie also wrote Donna saying that the state's star witness, which I assume would be Sigfredo Garcia or Luis Rivera, was a cocaine dealer, and maybe Dan Markel never paid his drug bill. Maybe he was attacked by cocaine dealers. Donna also wrote to Wendi, again after the verdict, your brother protected you for years. Now you are not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you. You can bury me in the dress that I bought for her son's, Wendy's son's bar mitzvah. So your brother protected you for years. Now, obviously, that could mean through the extortion, right? She just said earlier, your brother was protecting you for years. So that could be what Donna meant. But what the prosecution thinks that means is that her brother protected her by making up this story and also by hiring a hitman. Now you are not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you. That could be read either of two ways. One possibility is it means now that everybody has taken the fall for you, you won't be guilty for what you did. Or it could mean that now you're free because once again, he has protected you. Either way, I think it looks very dangerous for Wendi, very dangerous for Wendi. Also, the comment about you can bury me in the dress that I bought for the bar mitzvah suggests that Donna was perhaps in a very bad state of mind mentally, very depressed, but it also could suggest that she really did intend to go to Vietnam permanently. She was looking for a long-term solution. She saw no way out. She wasn't just looking for 3 weeks off in order to go and have fun and hang out on a beach somewhere. Then, within 24 hours of Charlie's verdict, Donna was applying for a visa for herself and for Harvey to go to Vietnam, an emergency visa, not just a quick one, not just a long-term one, not we'll be glad to go in a month. It was an emergency visa, quote, fastest I can get it. She also stopped Amazon deliveries and made a note to herself in her planner to sell jewelry, dishes, implants, and comics. And talked about Dan would need to tell Charlie what they were doing. She didn't want to tell him on the jail call that might be recorded. They went ahead and arranged to pay child support for about 2 years in advance on behalf of Charlie for Charlie's child. And then there was that Google by Donna, United States extradition treaties on November 7th, the day after Charlie was convicted. On cross-examination, they tried to suggest that WhatsApp is used internationally. So maybe they were just using WhatsApp because they had used it while one or the other of them was traveling internationally. The dishes were in the bedroom closet, and maybe they were just selling stuff they didn't need or want anymore. None of this, the defense argued, suggested they were going long-term to Vietnam. They weren't selling everything in their apartment, for example. And it wouldn't be all that unusual to stop Amazon deliveries. They did not move assets overseas, the witness said. And they got a tourist visa as opposed to a residence visa, although it's very possible you have to get the tourist visa first and then convert it. And Donna had no way of knowing about those friendly text messages between Charlie and Katie. So once again, there's the possibility they're angling to be able to split her off and say that Charlie pulled the wool over her eyes, just like he did everybody else. The redirect about the fact that the Adelsons seemed to be really planning a lengthy time away and they were moving with urgency and they intentionally chose Vietnam. So with that, the state rested its case. That is the end of the evidence presentation against Donna Adelson. Donna Adelson's team will start Tuesday morning presenting their side of the case. The state will have another go when they get to come up again and present anything that might rebut what has been presented by the defense during its case. We don't know how quickly this will end. The judge asked the defense, how many days is this going to take? And they said, give us until Tuesday to tell you. We do know they have at least one witness they mentioned will be coming on Tuesday. We will be going live, gavel to gavel coverage of this trial. We've been doing it all week. We've been doing it throughout the trial, and we'll be starting again Tuesday morning when the trial goes live. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. We would love to have you back for more. Each night, I'm also doing a recap so you can follow in shorter format if you prefer that. I will see you in the next video.